Welcome back to the It's Only Kids Football podcast, the place where we live through the emotional roller coaster of coaching a grassroots team to help you navigate the world of youth development. Today, we're talking about summer training and how to survive the madness of tournament season. We've got a special guest joining us to share his knowledge and expertise so you don't end up looking like a sunburnt Wally cluelessly shouting on the sidelines. Mark Thompson is a UEFA A licensed coach and the International Technical Coaching Manager at Everton, who also features on the Football DNA app, bringing with him a wealth of experience from both the US and the UK. To help me fire the questions at Mark to get the answers grassroots coaches actually need, I'm joined as always by my co-host and assistant manager, Mike Clark. Mark, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, mate?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, good, man. We're entering the season where basically we lose our minds. We have borderline heart attacks because, the results don't matter during the season. But now we're actually entering a phase of the season where something's on the line and it's impossible for an adult to not get emotionally invested. So we want to talk about that, but also summer training and, what are the sort of things that grassroots teams can do over the summer. Now, we don't have a break because, we're training once a week. We want the boys to be outside. They're playing with their friends. It's not super intense. They're not on screens. They'd play football anyway. If they're playing football in the field, no one would sort of say we should have a break from that. So we just keep going through. Or do you think there should be a break? Do you think there's a balance to be struck between giving the kids and the parents a sort of a mental break from the football? And is there anything they should do to not lose technical progress over the summer?
I think it's preference to families. We're happy for. I've got two kids. My little boy's 12. My daughter's 13, and they both play grassroots. We're still taking them once a week. We're happy to. So I think, from my perspective, I think it should be optional. I think if a club wants to continue and offer that opportunity, I think it should be optional if they want to come or not. We're happy to take the kids because, again, it keeps them, as you say, off the screens for a few hours in the evening. So I don't think anybody. It's different, right? When we were kids, you'd be out playing anyway. So what would be the difference? I don't think it's quite the same anymore. So I do think that structured option should be there, in my opinion. But again, we could get into the realms of people going off to one-to-one sessions, and we could go anywhere with this. But I think if the option is to carry on, I think they should carry on. If they go away for 2 weeks on a vacation, they go away. It is what it is. But I think it's good for them to continue and stay active. I think because we've got to keep the kids active, right? That's what I think.
And if people were to have a little break, is there anything they could do? Any sort of maybe stuff kids could do on their own? Maybe it doesn't have to be super structured, just stuff they could do on their own, just so they don't lose any sort of technical progress. And if they're on holiday, I'm sure it's just having fun and having a ball at your feet. And it depends on the age and where you're at. But anything like kids can do over the summer just to ensure that their development doesn't slow and they continue to progress.
Yeah, I think unstructured practices is as good as structured for me. You can go and explore and experiment with your opposite foot without loads of people watching you and judging you with a ball and a wall. What more do you need than that? How many times have we been on holiday and, as kids and, gone and found a little goal that we just used to kick in and no one's watching you, no one's telling you how to do it and not to do it. So I think as long as they're doing something, I think, I don't think there's any harm in that. But all you need is a ball, right? And you'll always find a way to do something that can replicate any type of, structured practice, but it's just less stress, less structure, less eyes, less pressure, and you're probably willing to make a few more mistakes or try a few things because there's no one judging you.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough point, actually, the way you put it around unstructured fun. I know that my son, he always wants to play with me in the garden, right? But whenever I see him just playing on his own, it's quite nice. He pretends that he's Saka and he's in the garden. He's booting the ball around. It's brilliant to watch him. And now it's getting warmer. He's out there constantly all day long, which is amazing. And when you go on holidays, it's the same thing. But actually, the way you said it around not being judged is probably spot on, right? Because they could we always say to them in training, this is training, you can do what you want, experiment, but you still have Ben and I, our like Sauron eye, just watching them, watching every move that they do. They are kind of being judged. Plus, they got the parents watching. Plus, they got all the other kids there. When it is just kick about on holiday or in the garden, it is very different. But they are also learning a hell of a lot. And we speak about this a lot around nowadays. That kind of I don't like saying the fun of it, because they still have so much fun in training and in even these one-on-ones and academy coaching. They have lots of fun doing that. So it's not taking the fun away, but taking that structure away of it is I just remember loads of years of that as a kid being so much fun, just going down the park and having a kick about with your mates. No parents there, no adults there, just so much fun. And I do feel bad for kids that isn't just, it's just not part of their life as much as it used to be. Is there a way that, from a coach's perspective, is there a way that you can just almost bring that unstructured fun into a session or into a plan where it doesn't seem like the kids are, having all of that pressure onto them? Or is that maybe just a positive environment?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So you think at the end of because usually the game always comes at the end as a reward, right? So you think at the end of a session, coaches are out there putting the poles out, laying the bibs out, and getting the goals lined up and the cones are straight. But if you went and sat there and said, right, there you go, guys, there's a couple of cones, there's 4 cones, there's a ball, you'd probably get the same outcomes anyway, because it's just, they'd find a way. Kids don't need as much structure as we think they do. They'd just pick 2 teams on their own and lay the goals down, and they just have a game. So that I think yeah, we do give them too much sometimes, I think, as well. That's certainly what I think in some of those scenarios. I think we give them too much structure. So I think the outcome would be the same if you just gave them that. Yeah. So it's that, I don't know.
And I guess you could do that at grassroots, right? Because you don't have the pressure of being in an academy setup.
Yeah.
You can experience both, right? Because you are the coach, but then also your son and your daughter go to grassroots, and you can, you've seen both sides of things. Do you feel the pressure as a coach at the academy level, and can you feel for the grassroots coaches as well that are trying to make do with what they've got, they're not as experienced as, say, yourself, but they're trying to muddle through?
Yeah, 100%. And when you're going through some of the qualifications that we've been fortunate enough to go through, a lot of the information sometimes was, if you're struggling as a grassroots coach or a volunteer, you think, well, I don't really know what to do. Some of the information was, well, just put them in a game, because they're going to get loads of learning from game situations and game scenarios. So yeah, of course. But as we all know, without volunteers and guys willing to give their time up to form these teams and work with these kids, that there wouldn't be any games and any training for them to have. So I don't think you can ever underestimate the importance of grassroots coaches, because they're absolutely invaluable. And I think that's then for me down to the clubs that they're associated with to try and offer them some support in different ways. Some don't want it, some do. Some might just say, here's a bag of equipment, away you go, hope things go okay. Some might want more, again, structure and alignment. But I think, it's at the younger age groups, certainly. I think just play as much as they can. I was just over in Atlanta doing a camp, actually. It's quite interesting. And we were doing a game at the end, and the coaches were like, how would you do this? So we just put scenarios in. So we recreated the PSG who did they play? Bayern game. So we recreated that game. We said, look, you've got 12 minutes to go. You're 5-2 down. And they had one team less. So I was like, you've had a man sent off. Away you go. Then someone else went, we've got to go early. I said, right, you've had 2 men sent off. Off you go. And we recreated that scenario. So I think that, again, just adds the enjoyment into it. And then, as you've said, all of a sudden you might see, someone wheeling away, as Harry Kane just scoring an equaliser. And then that enjoyment and that fun back that we spoke about at the start. So I think that's also a great way to engage kids in scenarios that they see, or World Cup final, with it on the horizon. And again, you might just have to add that little bit of fun with some fun scenarios. I think the kids don't take it anywhere as serious as the coaches do at times, right? And I think we could always play a part in making sure that fun stays at the forefront as well. With scenarios are as such an easy way to get fun enjoyment and real life buy-in, I suppose.
That's a great idea. But we certainly haven't done that. But I don't think I've heard that from any of our guests, to just paint a picture for them and to, give them that scenario and then just let them go for it, because that they'll find that fun. And with the World Cup coming up, there's going to be loads of stories that they can try and recreate, or a type of goal to recreate, that type of thing, because it could just be an individual shooting session. You're trying to recreate a specific goal that's happened in the World Cup, or a memory, or something like that. I think that's a really good idea. Certainly something the kids would get on board
Yeah,
with.
and think of the social aspect of that as well, right? You're going to start seeing who might have some leadership qualities and who might understand the game. So some game IQ, we're going, right, we're 5-2 up, we don't need to score, let's sit back in. Some tactical decisions. I'm not trying to, put too much into kids' minds, but, people who have got some understanding, some knowledge of what that might look like. Again, leadership skills, playing out of position, versatility, just defending the game management. It lends all of those things just to naturally come out, but also in maybe a funner, slightly more fun environment as well with the scenario coming. So I think it's, I wouldn't have an issue doing with that at academy level, putting scenarios in, saying, right, this is where you're at. Because we always, if we had the scenario where we did have a team that had one less player, so they were like, oh, let's play a bounce play. I was like, no, don't worry about that. Just let's do this scenario. They had a man sent off, figure it out. Real life scenarios, they're going to happen, right? So, yeah, I've tended to do that quite a lot. I quite enjoy it as well, and you get into it as a coach. I mean, we had the 2 volunteer coaches. They were managing each team, so they went off and did a little team talk, and then they took the other team off, and away they went. And I think Bayern actually won 7-5 in the end, so it's quite there's plenty of goals in it. Not much game management, but it was
We're
it was
100%
good.
doing this on Saturday.
Yeah,
We're
brilliant.
definitely doing this on Saturday.
Are we going to
100%.
recreate the Man City Everton game though?
Oof.
Yeah,
I was there last night. Good game.
I did see a
Yeah.
lot of sky
Yeah.
blue in your
Yeah.
background there, Mark.
Yeah, there's a
Yep.
little bit. Yeah, my daughter's City. Yeah, so
Is she?
so we were in the Everton end, and I was like, don't celebrate, whatever happens. But yeah, great game, good game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're Arsenal fans, so we were absolutely buzzing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
well, yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
But
exactly
by the
that.
time this comes out, we could have messed it up. So I'm not gonna say too much.
No.
So like parents and coaches who are listening, again, let's just say, either it be a coach who is planning the summer, and things they want to work on, or for it's a parent and their kids maybe not at training and they just want them to work on stuff. Are there any technical things that you would advise a child to work on, whether it be alone or in a team? Probably more individual, I'd say. But like, I don't know, working with both feet, ball mastery, ball striking, whatever. I don't know. 3 technical things you think are really either they get a little bit neglected, or the summer's an opportunity to concentrate on those things. What would you advise people to be doing?
Juggling, plenty of juggling, both feet, all surfaces, thighs. Maybe keep it away from the head, depending on your age. But yeah, juggling I think gets neglected big time. Ball mastery can, there's a place for it. I think I usually like to do that in a bit of an activation. But I would say find a ball and a wall, and just both feet, side foot, outside the foot, volleys, one bounce. You can do so much with a ball and a wall, and I think that's an opportunity to get a bunch of touches that you wouldn't get. And I think it ticks all the boxes that you need to to keep on top of your technical work. Juggling and a ball and a wall, and maybe stick a cone down, play it against the ball with one foot, take a touch across yourself onto your other foot. It's as simple as that. Inside foot, outside the foot, different parts of your feet. And then if you got a goal, again the third one, if you got a goal, go and do some ball striking with both feet. I know obviously some of the stuff that the guys work on in the academy at Everton is, they call it the brilliant basics, and it's ball striking, 1v1 dominance. Both feet. I think at younger age groups, especially, I think they're crucial.
As we've gone on this journey, we definitely have come around to the thinking of sort of the simplicity and training with a purpose and an outcome is so much more effective than when we first started, where it was, let's put on this session, let's try and work on something a little bit more complicated, or that was too hard, or trying to be too clever with it, or the more simple it is, so it's easy for the kid to understand, and they can almost do something where if they do it for a period of time, there's a very clear progression that they're able to notice and see. So like with ball striking, I do that a lot with my son because it's something that he has needed to work on. And because the repetition, so if you just got a ball and a goal, the repetition, you're getting loads and loads and loads and loads of reps. When you're standing there watching, you can give very specific, instructions and detail because you're just looking at them doing it. And then they start to see the progress almost instantly. So they're just doing it over and over and over again. And that has really worked with him. No drill, no complication, put the ball down and whack it in the goal. And it's amazing how actually effective that is, and the confidence it gives them rather than trying to sort of get too technical with it. So I'm a big advocate of that, but that's only something that I've really started to realize and learn as we've gone through it, because I was definitely one of those ones where I was watching the ball mastery drills on Instagram where some kid's doing about 10,000 skills in 5 seconds, unopposed, going nowhere, doing all this with their arms and all this, and I'm like, oh, that's what we need to be doing. But I've realised that is not what we need to be doing.
No, we myself and James Dunn, the head of coaching for the younger ones at the club, we were delivering in Atlanta. Philadelphia in January at the convention, at the soccer coaches convention. And he said, right, what do we want to get from it? And I said, do you know what? We need to give them something really simple that they can easily do back at their clubs, but we need to give them so much granular detail in why we're doing what we're doing. So because that's what they're going to want. So we did a session on, I think it was receiving with pressure from behind, and how to evade that, moving your hips, body shape, all that sort of stuff. So we went through a really, really simplistic session. A little bit was around tag, about, evading people and changes direction. Then it was an unopposed passing practice with some passive pressure from behind. And then it went into a small-sided game, which was split into thirds. And then in your defensive third, you could pass backwards, but in the middle and attacking third, you couldn't pass backwards. So you always had to find a way to try and play forward. If you were facing, back to goal, we had to try and find a way to face forward. So, I knew some of the questions that would come. So at the end, we addressed the coaches, and I said, look, anybody, find that really, really basic? And a few hands went up, and I was like, brilliant. So that's what it's supposed to be. And what is wrong with that? And I said, if you can't master the basics in a really proficient way, how are you going to move on to more advanced stuff? So I think that's something that Everton certainly focus on a lot. And what they're really good at is their players are always technically really, really sound. And that's because they don't overcomplicate it. They don't try and reinvent the wheel. And they just want them to be really, really good at the basic fundamentals that you need to be successful in the game, obviously at different levels. But, what's wrong with the basics? So, and I've done some coach education at times. And one coach said to me a few years ago, about 5 years ago, he's like, oh, I thought I was really, really impressed with how sort of basic it was. And I was like, yeah, good. Because it's supposed to be. That's exactly what it should be. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. I said, that's what we're looking for. And he was like, right, okay. And so I think, people do get a little bit carried away. And I think once you can shelve your ego a little bit, your own ego a little bit, and just say, well, is that what's right for the kids? Is that what's going to promote the best learning? And then I think you realise over time that it's not, having, as many cones up that you lined up that you would have at Heathrow doesn't impress anybody. It's, it's just what's needed to, not to overcomplicate and confuse the kids, and, and a real clear outcome. And most of the time it's the simple things.
Yeah, I think that ego thing is something that we've discussed a lot. Certainly at the beginning, the sessions were a lot more complicated than they are now, because you've got the parents watching you, but I think, and the kids, and just your own ego, you just want to do what you've seen on telly, or, with certain advanced drills, you're like, well, we can just go skip all the basics and just go straight to that. So that's something that we've had the advice on, and we've certainly, scaled it back massively. But the other question I had is just around the physicality of it. So when we're talking about coaching, the training and the basics, our kids are under 10, so they're 9 years old. Especially over the summer periods where, like Ben said, we will be training throughout, but there's not going to be regular games, and there will be kids going away, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be perfect every week. Should we be doing anything to help build the physicality of football? So yes, you want them to be fit, so they'll be running, they're just very active children most of the time anyway, but playing football is very different to doing cross country and running for days. It's a different type of fitness. There's contact. Getting a kids equipped. Is there anything that you do at Everton or in your previous coaching background where you equip the younger age groups to deal with the physicality of playing a contact sport like football?
I think at the younger ages, certainly to probably sort of 11, 10, 11, 12, I wouldn't do any isolated running, essentially. You can disguise that into fun tag games. Lots of tag games at that age because the fundamental movements are obviously crucially important. So I think you can hide that. You can hide some sort of, I don't want to call it conditioning at that age, but you can hide the fact that you want to try and get them sweating a little bit by doing some tag games, some relay games with the ball, without the ball. Just turn it into fun, and they don't really know that they're working extremely hard. But I certainly, most of my sessions, even with the older age groups, I usually start with tag games, because I think it's important just to refine those, stop, start, accelerate, decelerate, disguise movements. It's all fundamental stuff that you're going to need it within a game. And sometimes it takes away from the ball and they enjoy it. Handball's a great one as well. Everybody seems to love playing handball as a warm up. As soon as you put the ball on the floor, they're like, oh, we don't want to do that. So I think, I think the fundamental movement part of it for me is the most important bit. Certainly the younger age groups. So any type of tag games, dodging, relay games with the ball, without the ball. Like I say, you're working on a few different things there, and you're adding that competitive element to it. So they're going to work a little bit harder. They don't want to lose. So yeah, that's the way to disguise it for me. Isolated running at that age, absolutely not. But yeah, certainly some type of movement stuff for sure. And that's best done in tag games for me.
I'm just thinking, if my son hears this and he's at home with my daughter and sister, he's just constantly chucking shit at her anyway. So he's probably going to say, "Yeah, we're just playing dodgeball, Dad. Mark's told us that's what we should be doing."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, I think though they enjoy it as well. It's something different.
No, it's a good shout, and I remember more at school, I think, because they try to. I feel like in schools they try and bring the physical nature of combat or competitive sport away, especially nowadays. But even back when I was at school, they've started to bring it slowly row back on it a lot of the time because they wanted to avoid injury, I guess. But they did, they would add in elements like dodgeball, like handball, things like that when you think you're about to play football. And I do remember those, and it is a lot of fun. So we haven't really done that. We've had like some games, we do tag, but we do like killer, and it's mainly football, right? And you're trying to tackle, and the kids love it. And we do have one kid in particular, Ollie, who will just, if we do things like tag and dodgeball and handball, he will love it. He's like an athlete, right? Fastest kid on the planet. He will absolutely lap that up. But I do think that there is a lot in that. And we had a coach on a few weeks ago who was talking about just playing other sport and how that can help develop you for football. And I really buy into that. I think it's great to play other sports because you're building different types of movement, you're building different types of muscles, your awareness, your hand-eye coordination, all of that stuff can be built not just through playing football. And I guess with what you're saying there, you're just playing something as simple as tag. You're building all of these things and attributes that you can then, bring into your game of football. All right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we I know you obviously do some stuff with Foxy, and we were at Peterborough together, and we were just bringing in. I think it was a Friday that they'd do like a multi-sport session, and that was 5-6 years ago, maybe a bit longer. And they were just doing it as an optional session that anyone from the academy could come in and just take part, and it would be cricket one week and tag rugby the next or whatever. So just to promote that different movements in a different environment, in a different sport. But yeah, I mean, even in games of tag, right? You play bulldog, and if someone gets tagged, what do they usually do? Come and stand on the side and wait for the next round. I get mine to just sit down. So that there's the congestion within the area as well, right? And they could use them as a blocker, and so you got some thought process going into that as well. Like, don't just get them to stand on the side and wait for the next round. Let them stand there and someone run through their legs. Like, what's wrong with doing that? We used to do that as kids, or run under their arms, and it gives them other things to think about. And do you know what? They have such great fun doing it as well. So yeah, I think there's a big part for that, and it's a bit of teamwork and a bit of team building as well, right? A bit of fun, enjoying themselves, and you can see who's picking on certain people, trying to tag them all the time first. So yeah, there's lots of I think there's lots of good stuff to be done in all of the tag games.
Quick break. Before we dive back into the episode, we want to take a moment to help you level up your coaching game with the help of Football DNA, the ultimate coaching platform that's been a game changer for us. What do we love about it? It's super easy to use, saves us loads of time, and best of all, it doesn't just show you how to set up a practice, it teaches you how to coach it properly. And that's the key. The sessions are put together by top level coaches. We're talking first team staff at clubs like Celtic, Crystal Palace, and West Ham. Proper pedigree. You get videos, diagrams, full explanations, downloadable PDFs, and if you need it, a full 36-week training plan tailored to the age group you are coaching. Our lads have loved the sessions. It's made our lives easier, improved our coaching, and taught us loads. Now we genuinely look forward to training and developing our players. Check it out at footballdna.co.uk. That's footballdna.co.uk, or you can download the app. Just search Football DNA. Trust us now and you'll thank us later.
Mark, are you telling me you got elite level kids at Everton and you got their parents watching and your boys are just playing stuck in the mud? Is that happening?
They play tag, mate. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They play tag.
Okay.
Yeah, they play tag
This
games.
is music to so many grassroots coaches. Is that stick to the basics, make it fun, play these types of games. I mean, anyone can coach that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely.
Well,
Well,
you
we'll
haven't
still
seen
mess
us
it up.
coach, so I wouldn't say anyone just yet. But one of the things we've spoken about is actually being more fun, more positive, less serious, less strict, which is my natural demeanor. So it's quite hard to move away from that. But also, you know, there's the context of you have 1 hour a week and you want to get the most out of it, and you want to teach them some stuff, etc. So, but we have said that actually maybe it might be beneficial. So certainly over the summer when we're not really, you know, we're not playing games and stuff, was just to have a little bit more fun. So listening to what you're saying today, I think we're going to start with a warm-up, a relay warm-up on Saturday, which we did used to be fair, but I haven't used it for a long time. And we're definitely going to do that scenario thing. I might even do that through the session and just come up with different scenarios, like get them to play different, and not really give them any kind of actual specific outcome that we're trying to do. I just feel like they need to have a little bit of fun sometimes, not have me sort of barking at them constantly about what I want them to do and what the objective of the drill is. So you might have made me lighten up a little bit, Mark, but we'll
Well,
see how
I don't know
we'll
about,
see
I
how
don't
I
know,
go through the session.
I don't know about lighting up because I think I'm a little bit similar to you, really. I find it easier to be a little bit firmer at the start and then ease up. Or some other
Yeah.
people go the other way, right? I just find it always difficult to claw back sometimes if you're the nice guy and then you try and be a bit firmer on them because they need it. It's not always easy to claw that back, and I think it's easier to be stricter and then ease off
This
when
is
they
so
when they
this
need
little
it.
detail. You know what? A little detail like that, I think, is so, because I never would have thought about it like that, but it's so
It's
true.
difficult,
And
yeah.
this is
When you're their mate,
no, and it's
and
what
then
happens.
it's so difficult. It is so difficult to
It's
get it back.
so true because me and Mike especially, will try and put on this little. Well, we call him American coach because he tries to be all positive and super
Right.
happy, and then as soon as his son pisses him off, he goes into like a
Rage mode.
completely different mindset. Yeah, exactly.
Like dictator
And it's so
coach.
true. Because you're like, because with a kid, I always think with kids, if you let them get hyped up, right, they don't know the boundaries. So they just get hyped up and start going berserk. And in your mind, you're like, okay, you're allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to do that. And that's irritating and that's stupid and that's out of control. But if you just kind of set the tone of like, right, yeah, we're going to mess about today and everyone can just go crazy, then you completely lose them. I agree. Well, I
Yeah,
don't agree in the sense that I've never done it before. So,
yeah.
but now
It's
you've said that to me, that little detail I think is really good.
tough to get them back. I mean, I think when you start working with the older age groups, I had a U19 group that played in the National League, and it was after, I think it was at a Christmas party. We took them out for a Christmas meal and whatever. And one of them had said to one of my assistant coaches, said, "Oh, I still can't quite figure him out yet." And I was like, "Good." Because the minute they figure you out, the older age groups, like you're dead, because they know how to get what they want from you. So I'm like, I used to be like nice guy one day, hate them the next day. Just keep them on their toes, certainly that older age group, because they try and push the boundaries, right? But I think it's the same with the little ones, right? If they know they can push you a little bit further than they can Mike, for example, then like they're going to just take as much as they can get. Kids aren't stupid, are they? And also they look up to you, right? You're whether we like it or not, we're role models for them in a lot of ways. And, I think they will sometimes, if you told them to do something a parent did, would probably listen to you. So I think it's important that they know the boundaries as well, right? Of, when it is time to have a little bit of fun, but it's also, when it's time to be serious, because that's what we're here for as well. So yeah, I think it's, I'm with you, Ben. It's tough. I'm a bit stricter, and then I'll ease off them a little bit. The other way don't work for me. Yeah.
So you're not going to be trying out American coach on the weekend then?
No, I'll never. By the way, I'm never doing American coach. See, you obviously do proper coaching in America, Mark, but I did, like in my mid-20s, I coached in America, but we're talking like, soccer camps, childcare, not like
Yeah.
actual proper coaching. And I always found the American kids to me were so different to English kids. So English kids, especially when I did some of my coaching badges where I did it in London, and the kids would turn up late. Sometimes they're wearing jeans, wearing jeans to play football. Do a rondo, and they're telling me, "Yeah, why are we doing this? This is too easy." Like, I was like, "Okay, well then never give the ball away." They're just got an attitude, always arguing, challenging me. Just "Oh, can we go now? This thing's on television. All right, whatever." American kids turn up, face painted, buzzing, calling
Yeah.
me coach.
Yeah.
They've got their dog in a football kit. They're like, I'm here to learn. Please show me the way. And they basically also asked me why I didn't play for England, which was really an amazing compliment. But
Yeah.
I don't think they had a real understanding of how shit I am compared to actual footballers. But I don't know, just interesting. What have your experiences been with the different cultures in terms of coaching?
There's so much talent around the world. Like, I think every time I come back from somewhere, there's always a player that you think, oh, if they just had an opportunity. But like in the US, the quality's getting there. It's still not quite near what we are. Well, it's not near what we are in certain levels, but it's definitely getting there. And they're trying. But the facilities, mate, we were at, just in Atlanta, like I said, and I found a little local park to run around, and it was 9 floodlit football pitches. It got like 6 baseball fields, 15 paddle courts, a hiking trail, God knows what. And this is like a local town park. And I just think, God, if these kids, we had that here. Don't get me wrong, the goals would be burnt or cut or whatever, wouldn't they, here? But like they don't have that. They don't quite have that issue over there. But like, I don't know. I think they're getting there. I do think they're getting there, and they're definitely trying. But as you say, they're so respectful, incredibly respectful, and almost too respectful at times. But most of the time, it's the kids that can afford to play soccer in the US that play. It's not the,
Yeah. I was just about to say it's the barrier for entry, isn't it? It's the
for
cost.
sure.
Yeah,
it is for sure. But there's some talent out there. Like, I was out in Canada a couple of weeks back, and there's a couple of girls playing there, 15 and 17-year-old. They were unbelievable. Like, one of them, I was like, wow, no, I've never seen a 15-year-old like that before in my life. But they've got nowhere to go. They're just like, oh, what do we do? It's as good as it is bad, because you do feel for them a little bit, because the structure and the framework's just not what it needs to be for them to excel. So yeah, it's tough. It is tough, but there's some, as I say, there's some good players out there, and the coaching's getting there a little bit. Certainly in the US, it's definitely getting better. But like you try and do a technical session with a US group, game over. They don't see the benefit in non-competing sort of practices.
I got you.
If soon they're in 1v1s, that's it. They're at it. But you get them doing technical practices, they just don't really quite get it. And I think that goes down to the mentality of always competing, and all the different sports are quite aggressive, and it's tough, but it's definitely getting there. It's definitely getting there's some good people going out there, and and filling decent roles out there in quite influential roles. So it should get there eventually. But there's some great talent coming out of there. It's like everything, right? The coach, you're only as good as coaches. And the kids are only going to improve if they're getting the right information and good coaches and good support. So yeah, it's definitely getting there for sure.
Well, talking of being competitive, 7-a-side tournaments are starting for us. We had one on Sunday. Well, actually, it was 6-a-side, which made it a bit odd because we never play that. That though we don't have that sort of that aside. We played 5s and now we're doing 7s. Our first season of 7, so 6-a-side was a bit odd. But you've got 12-minute games, let's say 12, 15-minute games. You've got rolling subs. You're trying to give everyone like game time. I know that I'm sure obviously your focus is development and it's very different when you're playing, elite academies, etc. I'm sure it's a completely different ball game. But, what would your advice be to grassroots coaches? You're playing in a tournament, you've got short games, trying to do rolling subs. How do you set the team up to have success? Now, I know obviously development, everyone loves that, but we also can't deny that everyone likes to compete, and the kids, especially, the buzz of like, oh, there's something on the line now, we can win something. How could you help grassroots coaches in those situations? Because I found it really, really difficult. We did equal game time, so we were changing almost the whole team every 6 minutes. I don't think a kid should be sitting around for an hour and a half waiting to play a game. But yeah, any advice on how to handle that scenario?
Man, I hate tournaments. Oh, oh man, I hate them so much. It brings out the devil in people, like
Yeah.
parents as
No,
well, man.
definitely.
Like
Yeah.
I don't like them. I get as a child, I remember going to tournaments and loving them, thinking they're great. But like, I don't think it was ever really the football that you loved. It was more spending the whole day around football, right? Around people, watching games, being with friends. So
Yeah.
I just think you got to take them for what they are. Ban alcohol on sale at all venues.
Hey, listen to this, Mark. Listen to this. We went to a tournament on Sunday. I went into the bar to get a water, and she made a joke, or like, do you want to drink like a beer? And I was like, what? I said it's 10 o'clock. She said we had someone here at 9 o'clock this morning having a beer. I was like, it's a kids' football tournament. Who's drinking at 9 a.m.?
Yeah. Well, this is the problem, right? This is why they just get too over competitive. I don't know. There's fors and against from him, in my opinion. And it's preference, right? I think if you like them, some guys might take their kids to 10 of them, or whatever. But I think if you're going to do them, you take them for what they are. Like, it's a chance for the kids to get together. Do you know what? It's actually a chance for families to sit there and talk as well, because you might not speak to other parents really if it's just stand different ends of the pitch when the games are on. But I think take them for what they are. If it's 6-a-side, take 8. Just carry a couple of subs, rotate at each tournament. People might not be available, etc. Give the kids lots of game time, lots of opportunity to play, and just take it for what it is. Yeah, of course you want to win, and there could be moments there where you let the kids manage the game, right? You go and pick where you're going to play, but set yourself up. But again, the winning takes over. So I don't think there's ever a right answer. If I'm honest, I think it's definitely personal preference. I mean, my kids played in a tournament last summer where I think they got a goal for like getting a corner. So you didn't take a corner, but if it went out for a corner, you got a goal. So I think their team lost like 1-0, and it was because they conceded the other team, the keeper made a save and pushed it wide. And
What?
yeah,
I've never heard of that.
and they lost 1-0. So I'm like, what is this? So yeah, keeper made a save, pushed it wide, should have been a corner, right? So instead of taking the corner, the ball just goes back to the keeper. He starts, but that's a point. That's a goal. So you'd be losing 1-0 for a keeper making a save and pushing it wide. You're losing 1-0,
And then you get knocked out.
and then the game finished 1-0 from that.
That's mental.
Yeah. So
I've
and
not
I'm
heard
just sitting there thinking, because when I'm there, if the coaches ask me for any help, then I'm always on hand to help. But I just leave them to it, drop them off, stand a mile away, and just leave them to it. So I sit there and watch. I just sat there and like, what is this? Like, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel with this rule that is just? It's the kids are like how? What's this for? So I just think things like that. It's just, don't reinvent the wheel. Keep it if it's a tournament, it's a tournament. Like, just keep it simple. But like, I don't know whether you guys are the same, but like the amount of time that you spend at a tournament, oh my God. Like, you're there at like 8 in the morning, you leave at 4. It's crazy. That's, to me, that doesn't quite become enjoyable then. So I think the short and sweet tournaments are good. If you're going to do younger age groups in the morning, older age groups in the afternoon, whatever you want to do with that, but just keep it quick. Small breaks in the middle, keep them flowing. But yeah, I think it. Yeah, I mean, you guys have probably got some unbelievable stories to tell about tournaments, but I try and keep
Well,
away from
only
them, if I'm
winning
totally
them,
honest with
Mark. Only winning them.
you. Oh, there we
We got
go.
like.
And
No,
do
you know
you know
what?
what?
Like there was.
There's another thing though, Ben, right? I don't engage in a great deal of conversation when it comes to this stuff down with the kids training, and we're at different tournaments of that, and the pitches are really tight actually, which is fine. But like there were basically a goalkeeper was in the goal, but an outfield player on a certain team was just shooting from the goal kick because he could strike the ball. So like we played in this game, and this kid's shooting. He must have had like, I don't know, 10 shots. I think they won 1-0. So anyway, we get to the session a couple of weeks later. Oh yeah, tournament was great. I was like, oh, all right. I said, what about the kid shooting? Oh yeah, but they won the tournament. And I just went, oh my God. So I just turned and walked away, and I was like, I'm out. I'm not having this conversation. Like, because how can you think that's good, right? And that's where the problem comes, isn't it?
No, so it's funny you say that because there was this weird rule to stop that on the one we played at the weekend, and we're playing another one where the goalkeepers aren't allowed to drop kick the ball. The ball can't go past the halfway line when they kick it.
Okay.
So, but we've never. So that imagine you're telling a 9-year-old,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, when you kick the ball, you can kick it, but it can't go past the halfway line. That's quite confusing to him, and he's never
Yeah.
played it. Now we only played it one game where there was a free kick against actually the opposition team, and I sort of understood it, but at the same time I was like, it's a weird thing to just bring in for a tournament where they've never practiced it or understood it. Now let's just say, now you're saying to this kid, you can't do this, but we want you to do this. We want you to put the ball on the floor and play from there. Okay, that's great, brilliant. But what about if that kid's never done that? So then he plays in this tournament, you tell him he can't kick it. Now he's got to put the ball on the floor and play. He makes loads of mistakes and his team loses, right? Now he feels rubbish. Now that didn't happen, but I'm just saying it could happen. And that's why I thought it was like a bit of a silly rule to just have on the day. And that is the problem with tournaments. Listening to you speak now, I actually think that the problem with the tournaments is there's too many teams. So if you had less teams, you played for longer, so everyone got game time, and it kind of actually felt like it had a bit more of a, there's more substance to it. But obviously, we know that the tournaments are business, right? So the more teams you have, the more teams will sign up. They get money. People turn up, drink, food, etc., etc. Essentially, you're trying to make money from it. I do find them fun, but I do think that you lose a little bit of what you want to get out of it because you're constantly changing the team. It's a different format. No one's getting the game time they want. And then it's all kind of rushed through. And that's the downside of it. So, yeah, I do think there's a conversation to be had about really what is the best way to set them up.
I hear what you're saying, Ben, but I actually think that rule was a good idea because my son, he had a school football tournament. It was similar setup, 6-a-side, but they didn't have that kicking rule, and it was just, it was unbearable. The keepers literally just pick the ball up, drop kick it to the other keeper. It goes off for a goal kick. They're scrambling around to get the ball. They get the ball. They do the same thing the other end. It was just unbearable. It was like there was probably, out of a 12-minute game, there was probably 5 minutes where the ball was actually in the pitch. So I think it was the right idea, but yeah, I know what you mean. We had a few times with our keeper who just got a bit confused. And there's always these different rule changes, especially now you've got the kick-in rule, which was fairly new. This is our first season at 7-a-side, so there's different rules. There's loads of different rules for them. It's quite hard for them at that age in particular to just know all this stuff, let alone actually play and then have the pressure of winning, losing, blah, 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 all the pressures of parents. So I do feel for them.
So we've got one more question from our side, Mark, and then we've got some listener questions. But one of the things, it may have been a bit of an anomaly on Sunday, but I can't tell you that it didn't drive me to the point of like my head wanting to explode, is suddenly the kids kept switching off like from kickings, or so they were not backpedaling. They were literally turning their back and running away. And
Yeah.
2 times we did that. Like someone would play the pass, and then the kid has got their back turned. Whenever there was a kick in, or their opposition had the goal, like a goal kick, or sorry, like the ball in his hand to do a drop kick, we were just switching off and turning our back. I don't know if is there any fun games or any instructions or anything you've done that, not necessarily to fix that, but specifically like what can you do to help kids stay focused and concentrated and switched off? Because what happens a lot is when the ball goes out of play, we kind of think, oh, there's this huge amount of time now to reset and everyone will get in position. But the better teams that you play, they don't let you reset. They're trying to play really fast, which is why the kicking rule was brought in, right? To play fast. Any ways of coaching a kid in the context of them being 9 and obviously having a certain concentration span, but yeah, how can we get them to switch on?
I think it would be something as simple as saying, look, whilst you're on the field, we just want you to be able to always see the ball. So they just don't.
That's a nice way of putting it for them.
Yeah, always look at the ball. If you can't see the ball, you're in the wrong position. And then they should always be facing the ball in some way, or find a way to be facing the ball. And again, I think it could be as simple as that. Just always, whilst you're on, always see the ball.
It's just these simple things that actually coaches, actual proper coaches, not 2 Burks from Leon Sue, but you just have a little sentence like that, and that sums up. Whereas, me and Mike, Poundland Pep and Aldi Arteta are shouting on the sidelines like, switch on, and they're like, I don't know what switch on means, mate. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just always see the ball. If you can't see the ball, you get into a position you can. And that, if they can't see the ball, they might think, and then you might just say, can you, a simple thing as, can you see the ball? And if that might make them think, right, can I? And they're going to look for it and switched on.
I like it. So many times, like the one major learning we've had across the 90 odd episodes of this we've done is language with kids. It's the appropriate type of language to get through to them, and we would overcomplicate things so much that they would be confused, and quite rightly be confused. And we're still guilty of it now, where we say something that's just so obvious to us, but to them it's not, and they don't actually know what you're on about, and they might not have the confidence to say, what's he on about, mate? I don't know what you're trying to say. So you just get more and more annoyed. But there is certain language like that where you think, you surely must know that one. Please, God,
that's
you must know that one.
Just simplify it, and as it's most of the time it's in our heads, isn't it, that we think we should be. Use the fashionable words or what we hear other people shout, but as long as they understand it, doesn't matter whatever it is, whatever they understand is the best way.
Go Cardless makes collecting payments simple with automatic direct debit. Membership fees come in on time every month without watching parents dig through their pockets only to find a crisp packet or race into the cash point while you wait in the rain. There's no more, I'll give it to you next week. You can just drop a link into your WhatsApp group and bingo, payments are sorted. It handles the admin too, automatically keeping track of who's paid, what's outstanding, and retrying any payments that didn't go through, helping your club keep a steady cash flow for pitch hire, kits and equipment. You can even pause or adjust payments when families need flexibility, keeping your club supportive and inclusive. Go Cardless takes care of the money so you can focus on running great sessions and growing your club. Mike, we've got some listener questions. So this is from Michael Stephen. Michael's struggling with a talented but sort of a son that doesn't really like tackling. He's really good on the ball, but he doesn't like tackling. He loves getting forward, but again, avoids the physical side, and it's impacting the team. And he's torn between not changing him and just kind of letting him do what he's good at, but also wanting him to be more physical and understand that he needs to be more defensive and make tackles and go shoulder to shoulder with players. Any advice for getting one of those kids who's a little bit more reluctant to have that physical contact? How can we get them to do that?
Take him to the boxing gym. But again, is that another sport? Is that another sport that adds a little bit of physical contact in? Is that doing some games in a warm up? Is it tag rugby in a warm up? Or where put the bib behind, and you just got to try and promote it. But if he's going to excel in the other area, which sounds like he's a good dribbler and a good attacking player, then he's going to have to be brave enough to take bumps and kicks along the way. But at that age, what age did he say was again? Sorry.
I 5v5, so I think it's
5v5.
under sevens or under. It'd be under sevens or
eights.
under eights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you gauge if someone's physical at that age or not? I mean, they're not even brave enough really to figure out how much they can push and pull, right? I remember my kids, like,
Yeah.
they would be, they didn't know whether to touch another kid or shoulder or, they figure that out themselves. But I think I would say just focus on what he's really good at and make him very good at it. And the rest of it
Yeah.
will have to naturally come. If he's a dribbler and an attacking player, he's gonna have to take bumps and kicks anyway. So he'll soon have to figure out a way to deal with it.
We had a listener question previously about should we do one-on-one coaching. My response was, I think you probably don't need necessarily one-on-one coaching at 6 years old, and just let them play and have fun. And if you want to do that later on, then fine, crack on. But Pete Smith, a listener, messaged in. He said he's had a really positive experience of one-on-one coaching, especially for confidence and developing both feet. The question is, do you kind of feel there's value in one-on-one coaching, and what age groups do you feel like it has its most value?
I think it can add value at any age group. Even you see senior pros going and doing some one-to-one stuff in the summer. I think it depends what you want to get from it, right? I mean, if you want to get a bit of a maybe it's a confidence and a social thing. The message is always going to come. It's going to be taken in by a child better from a coach than it is from dad telling him to stop using his right foot and use his left. So I guess it depends what the outcome is from the sessions that you're looking for. Naturally, repetition. If you're doing an hour session, you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of touches. How's that not a good thing? I guess there needs to be obviously it needs to be structured and well thought out, which I'm sure they are. But I mean, I did some in COVID. I didn't ever want to do it, but I did some small group sessions where you could get like 4 or whatever the rules were, and I enjoyed them to a point. But then I had like a couple of people. I think they got 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds. So they'll come have a session. I'm like, nah, just go in the garden. Like, take them in the garden. I'm not taking your money off you. I'm gonna do nothing that you won't do in the garden with them. So I think for me, unless they're playing like organised, I'd say 6, 7, 8 maybe would be a time. I mean, I personally wouldn't really do it. Mine had some this summer, but that was in a small group thing, and that's only because I don't want to be that. I want to leave them to it until they want me to help them. I don't want to get involved with that. I want to leave that to somebody else. But yeah, I think it's preference to your child and what the end outcome is. It's also fashionable at the moment, right? Everybody's doing it. So, yeah, if they're getting touches, there's a place for it. But yeah, certainly the young ones, I don't think there's a need for it, to be honest.
Just on that, what are you like with your kids? What is Mark, not the coach, was Mark the dad on the sideline like?
I stand at, so this year I've run the line. I run the line just because I don't like standing and watching. It just, and if I'm not running the line, I stand right at the end of the field, out the way, sat back, and just watch. Yeah.
You don't say anything.
No, I don't say a word. No, not a thing.
What about after the go?
Sometimes I'll ask them what they thought of the game, and then I'll see what they answer. I don't do the whole get in the car and how do you think you did sort of thing. It's they know, if the kids know. Mine, they're 12 and 13. They know if they've played well or not, or they know if they've done something they shouldn't have done. But if my son might say, "Oh yeah, I was best player on the pitch," I'm like, "Whoa, no, you was not." So I won't allow that. But I also, do you know what? I also will never lie to them. And that's something I will never do. If they think they've done something really well, and I'm like, "No, you didn't." Like I won't lie to them and say, "Yeah, you did." I don't think that's good for them in general. So yeah, I've always tried to keep it separate. I've never coached their team. I do the odd session if they ask me to fill in now and again. But yeah, I treat them exactly the same, probably worse actually, than the other kids. But
Yeah, but what about
yeah.
Mark? You can see if they could do something better. How do you stay quiet if you know on the sideline you're watching the game? You could literally. It's frustrating, right? It's the most frustrating thing in the world. How do you contain yourself? Because that is. I mean, by the way, we have good weeks and bad weeks. We're not perfect. We've got a million times better, but you know, we still slip up now and again. How do you contain yourself?
That's what the coaches are there for, isn't it? I mean, the minute you contradict them or you go, you don't know what they've been asked to do to a point. If you've got loads of voices shouting at you, it's never good for them. It's just organised chaos. I think silent sidelines should be there all year. I don't think it should be one weekend. I think it's brilliant. Just encouraging and leave the rest to it. I mean, it's if I wanted to, how I feel like is if I deserve the right to give instructions and comment, then I should take the team or be willing to take the team, and I can't commit to that, so I won't disrespect the people that are willing to do that and go and speak above them or contradict messages or whatever. I take my kids there to play football, so whatever they say goes to a point.
Fair play. I think we've been lucky with our parents. They do the exact same, but we obviously hear countless stories where it doesn't go that way, and there is a lot of conflicting messages for these kids, and it just gets very confusing for them. And no surprise there. If you're the coach and you're telling them, I don't know, track back, and your parents like, no, get on the ball and bomb forward, it's going to be confusing for them, and they're right on the sideline. Who do you listen to? Both authoritative figures in their life. Yeah, it is a challenge.
Well, do you know what? I've got a good example of that. It's I also think that I remember we played a team this year, and they had a forward, really, really good player. I remember watching him thinking like he was probably the biggest handful that the team have had, and every time he did something, whatever he did, looked over at the sideline, and I thought that's just why I never do anything to shout at the kids, because the minute their first thought is to look over for validation or a reaction, then that's a problem, right? He didn't look at his coaches. He looked over at the sideline to where his parents were. And I just thought, what must that kid, it can't be pleasant for that kid either, feeling like everything he's doing, he's probably going to get a comment or good one, bad one, whatever that may be. So I think that's also a huge problem, right? If they start looking over at the parents first, that's always makes me feel like I'd rather be someone that sits there and says nothing than someone that just doesn't stop and puts the kids under pressure or stress or whatever that may be. Because we've all had horror stories about car conversations, I'm sure, about what that is. So I think when you hear all these things, sometimes puts it into perspective, right? My kids play grassroots football. They don't play academy level football. So why do I need to try and treat them like something that they're not? As long as they enjoyed it and they're getting better, that's all I want to see. And that's how I judge. Again, I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. My son's team 2 years ago, I think they played in like a B league. They've got promoted up or whatever. And they lost every game. Got some games got absolutely battered. But actually, my son plays in defence, and he had a really good season. He got a lot better. He's doing a load more work because he's having to defend a lot more. But like someone said to me, oh yeah, but we've lost and we haven't won a game. I said, yeah, but my kids got better, so I don't really care. Like, that's how I'm going to judge it. Has he improved from the start of the season to the end? If he has, then job done. I can't ask any more than that. So again, it's perspective for everything, I think, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a powerful message for a lot of people. That the end result is just about progression, not the actual results. It's really difficult for the grassroots coaches that are also the parents, because that scenario you're talking about, that is my son. He'll look over at me on the good stuff and the bad stuff. And actually, when we did a bit of an end of season review last week on a pod, I said the best part is when he looks over when he's doing something great, but the worst part is when he looks over when he's done something that he thinks is a mistake. And it's just this horrible feeling that you just don't want him to look at you at all, because he's looking at you because you probably had to go at him 100,000 times, or because you've praised him so much. There's no like balance, and that's something that I'm certainly going to be trying to work on, is just keep not going too high when it's high and not going too low when it's low, and try and keep in that balance of emotions.
Quick one for the coaches and volunteers listening. If you're sorting kits for a grassroots team, you'll know the pain. It's never as simple as it should be. That's exactly why Discount Football Kits exists. They supply quality football kits at prices that actually work for grassroots clubs. No nonsense, no hard sell, just reliable team wear that turns up on time and looks the part on match day. From full team kits to training wear for growing squads, everything's built to make your life easier. If you're tired of overpaying or overthinking kits, head to discountfootballkits.com and get your team sorted today. that leads us nicely on to the next question from a parent called Michelle Ann, and she was talking about how do you best support like intense kids when praise doesn't seem to land. So she was saying that she avoids coaching her kid. Instead, she notices effort and learning moments and keeps feedback neutral rather than overly positive or negative. But a child just doesn't respond to generic praise and wants something more genuine. Um, and I think she's kind of worried she doesn't necessarily have the football knowledge or terminology to give them something more authentic. So, have you ever dealt with kids that were really intense and wanted to do well, and then when you gave them praise, or whatever, it just didn't land, and they just would only hear the negative, they don't hear the positive?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, to be quite honest with you. I think there's maybe a couple of kids at older age groups that were just negative Nellies that just all the time were just miserable. See, I just turned it into a joke. I'd just say, look, he's just like, I'd tell you well done. And I'll be like, well, you can smile. And then they're like, and then they're like, give you a little grin. And then you think, well, that's as good as I'm going to get. But at the younger age groups, like, they shouldn't be that intense at a younger age group, should they? Really? I don't think they should. Maybe take the pressure off a little bit and, again, just spin the enjoyment piece on it. I don't, do you know what? I'll be honest with you, I don't really think I've ever really had that at a younger age group. Kids that are so intense that don't take praise, and just take
I do.
criticism.
From my experience, though, this to me is why I don't believe in like just you were saying you'll always be honest with your kids. I don't
Mhm.
believe in just telling them well done at the end of it, because then it just comes to mean nothing.
Yeah.
I always felt the same with my mum and my dad. My dad, you know, probably could count on one hand how many times he was positive, but when he said it, I felt it and I knew he meant it and I knew I'd earned it. But my mum would just say, well done, regardless. It meant absolutely nothing to me because I just like, you just say that anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether I've been good or bad because you always say well done.
Mm.
Um,
Do you know, I remember
so I
being,
do.
I'd have been what, 10 maybe younger, playing in a tournament, and I think we lost in the final. I'm sure we lost in the final, and it was my fault for the goal. And I knew that. At that point, I knew I'd like made a mistake, and they'd gone through and scored. And I remember pretending to be asleep in the car, and my parents talking about it. Honestly, and I remember being pretending to be asleep, and like I remember my dad saying, "Yeah, but it was his fault that we lost because he did this." And I remember my mum saying, "Yeah, but don't tell him that, you'll upset him." I always remembered that, and I must have been 9 or 10, and I never ever forgot it. And I always remember thinking, I'd just rather someone tell me the truth. I can take
Yeah.
it, like, don't hide it, like, because I know anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always remember that conversation. It's quite weird how you remember certain things, right? But and that's why I'll never lie to them.
No, I think I'm developing a little bit with my own son. He would get very upset when I would overreact to stuff. We worked through that. And it's certainly a lot of the blame on my part. I have ridiculous expectations for his age. And we've got to the other side of it, and sometimes, like when I've been hard on him, I'll start feeling guilty, and then I want to talk to him about it, and then I'll say to him, "Do you think I'm being unfair? Like, do you think that you were running hard enough?" And he'd be like, "No, it's okay. I don't mind what you said." Like he might like bite back and look upset, but then after he'll say to me, not always. It's not like some perfectly a perfect dynamic, but he will sometimes say to me, "No, I agree with what you're saying. I wasn't doing it." So, but then other times he'll like get very upset and angry with me,
But
and
I think it's the timing of things as well, though, Ben. Right? So if you've had a conversation about a certain topic that he's probably not liked but agreed with, the moment he does the opposite and he does it and it goes well, that's when you have to pounce on it and overpraise it to say, "See, that's what I did. I told you, if that's what you do, look how much more you impact." Blah 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 blah. That's what I would do, and I would really over egg the fact that he's done something that we discussed that he's not been doing, and then reinforce the positive and maybe a little bit more, and just even the next game, just remember, if you do that, that's what happens, and then it's either going to drop or it's not, right, at that point. But it's tough in it when you also parents and they sit and don't speak to you for the rest of the day. Well, that's probably all right sometimes, but
oh, haven't been one of those parents. So we had a question from Matty. Matty's son only played 10 minutes in a 40-minute game And though the team got their first win of the season, he's asking whether this is the dad, he should celebrate the result or be frustrated about the limited playing time for his son.
What an age-old argument playing time is. I mean, for me, 50% is a minimum for everything and anywhere. And if you don't give that and you're not willing to give that, I think shame on you for having them in your team if you don't think that they're capable of impacting it in the right way. Or does that make sense? Because
Absolutely.
you put
We
him in a
d-
situation to
yeah.
fail, right? So
Yeah, we do equal game time, and we've never shifted from it. We do it in the tournaments, we do it in the games, and I'm not trying to sit here as some holier than thou like person. First of all, the caveat of even saying that is that our team is pretty good. So almost all the boys are good, right? We haven't got a mixed ability to. Obviously, there's a spectrum of ability, but fundamentally, they're all good. We haven't got a team where you've got like 3 superstars and 3 kids that, barely can kick the ball. And I know that makes it so much more difficult. So I do not have the experience of that. But my belief is, how can you expect the kid to get better if you don't give them the game time? And yes, you might put them on there. They might make a mistake. You might lose the game. But there's no trophy, there's no 3 points, and there's no league table. So at least give the kid a chance to get better. And if it's still not working out for him over a number of seasons, then fair enough. Maybe you say, this team isn't the right team for you, but you've got to give them a chance. Otherwise, you can't expect them to get better.
No, absolutely. And also you can help them out with where you might put them as well, right, on the pitch. In certain moments, if you know they're going to potentially, let's say, for example, you're hell-bent on getting your first win of the season and you're winning and you got 10 minutes to go, probably wouldn't put the kid on at centre-back, right, if that's a concern. So put him on, give him a different challenge, give him a clear role to play. We're going to put you up front. All I want you to do is run around as much as possible and put pressure on their defenders, whatever. Put them on the wing, say run up and down, support the attack, support your defence. That's what your job is. Like so you can help the kids out within that as well with what their role may be. If that's the scenario that you've got or the challenge that you've got. So I think it's certainly twofold there.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I heard this thing the other day. It might have been from again, we're giving a lot of shout outs to competitor podcasts, but I won't give them their name, but a different podcast. And they said, are you doing this for you, as in grassroots coaching? Are you doing it for you or are you doing it for them? And at the end of your journey with a team, the kids, if you've got a relationship with these kids that grow into like young adults and then men, they'll remember you for how you've progressed them, right? And if you haven't given them the minutes and you haven't progressed their ability, they'll probably walk past you in the street. That you don't have that relationship. So we've got to remember, are we doing it for them or are we doing it for us? And if it's your first win of the season, you'll forget that, but you won't forget their progression as they grow older.
Yeah, for sure.
So we just want to do one quick shout out to Andy Cadwell. Andy is celebrating Nazing Youth's under 10s Yellows reaching their first cup final. They're a mixed ability squad, been together since under 7s, and it's a great example of sticking together and progressing as a group, which is a nice way to finish after what we just discussed. Now, Mark, love this chat. If there's people listening to this, they want to follow you, they want to connect with you, hear more of what you got to say or the content or you're putting out there, or just talk coaching with you, where can they reach you?
Instagram, LinkedIn. Always happy to connect and chat with people like-minded. And always opportunity for me to learn something from somebody else as well. So yeah, always happy to chat to anybody that's interested.
Well, this one conversation has been the one time you didn't learn anything new, but I can say that we have learned some stuff, Mark. Some lovely snippets in there. Like, loved it. Really appreciate it. And you can, of course, check out Mark's sessions on the Football DNA app and website, featuring excellent drills covering first touch, movement, passing, dribbling, and finishing. There's some great stuff on there, so make sure you have a look and try them out for yourself. That's brilliant, Mark. I recommend everyone go out and follow Mark. Great conversation, some really interesting bits in there that we're going to use ourselves. So I appreciate you coming on, mate. Thanks ever so much.
No, pleasure. Thanks for having me. I've listened to some of your stuff in the past, so it's nice to be part of it as well. And yeah, pleasure. Keep doing the good work that you're doing.
Cheers, Mark.
It's always good to have another handsome bald man on the podcast. So you're welcome anytime.
Another one to Ben's roster. Yeah.
Right. So to all the coaches listening, don't panic and don't fret about what to do with your players over the next few months. Take some time to actually enjoy the mental break. You've earned it. Once you've recharged, give this episode another listen. Follow Mark's advice and head back onto the training pitch with a renewed focus and a burst of energy. And please, try not to lose your mind during these summer tournaments. Keep your cool on the sidelines because remember, at the end of the day, it's only kids football.